impeached after Presidents Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton in the House of Representatives. With me now, two men on very different sides of the Clinton impeachment. Joe Lockhart, who was press secretary for Bill Clinton at the time, and former Republican Senator Rick Santorum. So since I said you're on both sides, Rick, I suppose I should clarify with you voted to remove Clinton from office. So everyone understands you truly were on opposite sides here. Joe, let me start with you. You were part of the team fighting Clinton's impeachment. You helped him stay in office. What do you think is the biggest lesson that President Trump can learn from you?
I think it's a lesson he hasn't learned yet, but he still maybe has time to, which is the public votes a president in and they want him focused on their issues, not his issues. And I think you have to look long and hard to find President Clinton during this period publicly feeling sorry for himself and indulging himself in self-pity and doing some of the things that Donald Trump does on a daily basis. That's the reason that the president's job approval actually went up during this process, not down. And that's the reason I think the American public could separate the impeachment process from everything else the president was doing. And I think that was, the one key to surviving this period politically.
Senator Santorum, you felt Clinton should be impeached, removed from office. Obviously, you made the vote to remove, as the Senate would. Obviously, that ultimately failed in the Senate. What do you think President Trump can learn from the Clinton impeachment and that pattern of impeached in the House, saved by the Senate?
Yeah, I think Bill Clinton had a lot of things going for him. He had a roaring stock market, very, very high rates of growth. We were closing in on a balanced budget. I mean, on the economic side, things were really cruising in the late 90s, and Bill Clinton was taking a lot of credit for it. In part, he certainly should have. But and to the same degree, I mean, Trump has a good economy, not quite as good from the standpoint of growth, but markets are up and unemployment's better numbers than what Clinton has. So there's a lot in common. I think Joe points out the difference. I mean, Bill Clinton didn't talk about all those things. Now, in part because he didn't want to talk about it. I mean, these were not matters he wanted to talk about, which, lying under grand juries and under oath, I should say, and the affair that was behind it all. That's the last thing he wanted to talk about. Where Donald Trump wants to defend himself. I mean, that's sort of the big difference. And I think Clinton actually, for different reasons, had the right strategy. I think Trump would do better, as Joe said, getting back to business and really, talking about things that the public cares about.
Joe, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham voted as a congressman to impeach Clinton, but he had this praise for Clinton last week, and I wanted to play it for you.
President Clinton defended himself, but he never stopped being president. And I think one of the reasons that he survived is that the public may not have liked what the president had done, but believed that he was still able to do his job.
And that's obviously what Trump has to prove now, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I think Senator Graham has a challenge of, there's a lot of clips from him from 1998 that he has to eat right now because he's on the other side, but he's right there. And I think that's what Senate Republicans are trying to get through to the president and his team. I think Mick Mulvaney has spent some time with the senators and maybe some others. They really want him off this, and they want him focused on more bread and butter issues. But the president doesn't seem capable of it. He doesn't seem able to, if someone says anything about him, he's got to fight back. And not just fight back, he's got to double down and hit harder. And I don't think that serves him well politically.
And to that point, Senator, double down and hit harder, right? There were Democrats who were willing to criticize Clinton's behavior, but they still opposed his impeachment and removal of office, right? President Trump has a lot, not a lot, but some Republicans like that, right? Mitt Romney, Ben Sasse, Murkowski, Collins, they've criticized him. They haven't yet said they're going to vote to impeach him, but he has called them human scum. He has called them human scum. Is that going to matter?
Really interesting. Yeah, well, I can tell you, if you look back at, when I remember when this all broke and Joe Lieberman went to the floor of the Senate and Bob Kerrey, I think Daniel Patrick Moynihan went, and they just laid the lumber to President Clinton. I mean, they were furious about his conduct, but then they said, but we don't think it's an impeachable offense, and they actually argued for censure and other things. And I think we're not there yet, where I think members of the House and Senate are going to say, well, this isn't impeachable, but maybe we should censure the president. But that was one of the things that began to sort of coalesce Democrats around not impeaching the president.
And we'll see if that'll happen now. Obviously, you know, I should make it clear, especially to people around the world who didn't hear this. I mean, I'm not paraphrasing. It was quote, human scum is what he said. So we'll see how this plays out. And I appreciate both of you very much. As always, your perspective unmatched on this. Thank you. And next, Trump on impeachment in